Hi students, today the 11th classes discuss the chapter is commonly called as mineral nutrition. In the mineral nutrition, the early classes to be discussed about like this: macronutrients and micronutrients. Among that nutrients, how it can be carried out the function, how it can be carried out absorption in the plants in the form of what. After deficiency, what are the characteristic feature to carry out? That is discussing today. Like this: function, mode of absorption, and deficiency symptoms of macronutrients. What is the commonly called as macronutrients? That means the nutrients it's require huge amount. Due to the requirement of huge amount, the nutrients commonly called as macronutrients. Among the macronutrients, some of them they can be discussed now. The first one is namely called as nitrogen. What is that chemical name of or chemical formula of nitrogen is commonly called as N. So nitrogen, it is require the plants is greatest amount or it is require huge amount. It is the basic constituents of, or it is essential for formations of protein, nucleic acids, carbon amino acid, fourth one hormones, fifth one alkaloids, sixth one chlorophyll, seventh one chlorophyll, seventh one alkaline. So these are things it responsible to make like this: protein, nucleic acid, amino acid, hormones, alkaloids, chlorophyll, and alkaline. These are things it is responsible for formations of nitrogen. If that the deficiency of nitrogen, it can be cause so many kinds of diseases. But the plants, which way is uptake from the soil? So the plant uptake nitrogen in the form of NH3. That's a commonly called as the plants obtain in the form of nitrates. That is that essential keyword of nitrogen. Next, what is the deficiency symptom? If the nitrogen is properly available in the soil mean, what are the diseases responsible? First one, stunted growth. Second one, chlorosis. Third one, anthocyanin formation. So what do you mean commonly called as stunted growth? If the plant, the requirement of nitrogen it's going to be deficiency mean the plant is not attaining normal growth. If it is make short, that is commonly called as stunted growth or also called retarded growth or reduced growth. So what do you mean commonly called as chlorosis? That means loss of chlorophyll. What do you mean commonly called as anthocyanin formation? So anthocyanin is nothing but is a kind of pigments. Also called it is a colored pigments. If the leaves are usually green color, if it is occur or it must be turned any color mean loss of chlorophyll. If chlorophyll is a loss mean the leaves cannot perform the process of photosynthesis. If do not perform the exact function of photosynthesis means the plant cannot prepare required amount of food. So that's why to say anthocyanin pigment formations. Can I go that second one macronutrient is commonly called as phosphorus. What is that chemical component of phosphorus commonly called as P? So phosphorus, it is the basic constituents of protein, nucleic acid, amino acid, then ATP, then NADP, then phytin, then sugar and phosphate. So it's essential for formations of protein, nucleic acid like this DNA and RNA. There are 23 amino acids are there. Among that essential amino acid and the non-essential amino acids are there. And also formations of or productions of energetic components of ATP. What the abbreviation of ATP is commonly called as adenosine triphosphate. What is that NADP? Nicotinamide adenine diphosphate. What they call phytin? Phytin is nothing but is a kind of salt calcium and magnesium, as well as sugar and phosphates. If phosphorus, which way the plants are uptake? Because nitrogen is uptake in the form of nitrate, likewise. Which way the plants is uptake in the phosphorus? Is uptake in the form of H2PO4 or otherwise known as HPO4. So the plants uptake phosphorus in the form of H2PO4 and HPO4. H2PO4 is commonly called as dihydrogen phosphate. HPO is commonly called as its uptake in the form of phosphoric acid. If the phosphorus not available to the plant mean, what are the deficiency diseases are there? The first symptom is commonly called as necrosis. The second symptom is commonly called as stunted growth. Third symptom is commonly called as anthocyanin formation. The fourth symptom is commonly called as inhibition of cambial activity. So these are the things. It's are the due to deficiency of phosphorus, namely necrosis. So what is the definition or meaning of necrosis commonly called as death of tissues. So in the leaf, cell or tissue which leads to death mean the leaves are turned some other than the color. If turn other than the color means a loss of chlorophyll. So the leaves are cannot perform the process of photosynthesis. This is commonly called as necrosis. Stunted means retarded growth. Anthocyanin means formations of different kinds of pigment in the leaves. Then inhibitions of cambial activity. So cambium is nothing but it is a meristematic tissue. What is the main characteristic features of meristematic tissue is commonly called as cell division. If the cell is not undergo dividing, not possible to increase the number of cells. If the cell is not increasing, there is no elongation, there is no maturation if it takes place. So in this absence of phosphorus, it's a happen to inhibitions of cambial activity. Can I go to that third one, macronutrients commonly called as potassium. What is that chemical indicating name is commonly called as K plus. So potassium, it is essential for the plants because it is maintain the turgidity. And osmotic potential of cell. What does maintain the turgidity? Turgidity mean the cells are due to end osmosis for getting more amount of water from surface of membrane. The cells are become swell up. If the cells are swell up mean it's maintained regarding water turgidity. Which element is responsible such a kinds of turgidity in commonly called as potassium. If potassium is not proper available in the soil means the cell will be going to flaccid. That's a commonly called shrink because of loss of water or ooze out of water from the cell. So which element responsible for maintaining the turgidity is commonly called as potassium. And also that's maintained regarding what osmotic potential of the cell. So in potassium, not only maintain the turgidity of cell and the osmotic potential of the cell, it maintain cell entrapment. Then it is also called, it is maintain opening and the closing of stomata. Fourth one, phloem translocation. Fifth one, stimulate and induce enzymes activity. Fifth one, acid regulation. Sixth one, anion and cation ion exchange. So what are that possible? Maintain turgidity and osmotic potential of cell, cell entrapment, opening and closing of stomata, phloem translocation, stimulate and induce enzymes activity, acid regulation, anion and cation ion exchange. So anion is commonly called as always is a negative charge. Cation always commonly called as it's a positive charge. Okay. Potassium, which way the plant is uptake in the form of K plus ions. Okay. If potassium is not available properly in the soil means, what are the deficiency symptoms? First of all, marginal chlorosis. So what do you mean commonly called as marginal chlorosis? Because there's a leaf. So chlorosis commonly called as it is a loss of chlorophyll. So where that kinds of loss will appear only the margin alone. It's a called leaf margin. So that marginal chlorosis. Second thing, necrosis. What are necrosis? Loss of chlorophylls. or death of tissue. Third one, stunted growth. Fourth one, low cambial activity. Fifth one, loss of apical dominance. Sixth one, lodging of cells. And seventh one, curved leaf margin. So these are the things is have to occur, namely marginal chlorosis, necrosis, stunted growth, low cambial activity. I am already indicating to that cambial activity. Cambium is commonly called as a meristematic tissue, which leads to continuous division, resulting in increase in number of cells. If the deficiency there means the rate of cambial activity is going to be low, so called low cambial activity. Loss of apical dominance. So what is the meaning of apical dominance? Do you know that? These are plants. These are commonly called as apical bud. This is commonly called as lateral bud. If that rate is going to be decrease, means the rate of growth is apical bud is going to reduce. That is commonly called as loss of apical bud, resulting apical bud is not to grow well. Instead of which bud to be going to grow to be rapidly means lateral bud. So that the potassium it is not available to properly, which leads to loss of apical bud. Then lodging of cells. So what are the definitions of lodging? That means permanent displacement of cells. What is the meaning of permanent displacement of cells? Do you know? Generally, the cells are vitamin possess vertical position. If it is availability, its leisure abdomen, the vertical growth becomes going to fall down. That to be say permanent displacement of cells. Then at curved leaf margin. The leaves are generally exposed to the sunlight. Due to deficiency, the leaf margin go to be curved. Those are things, it's nothing but symptoms of potassium. I go to the next one, commonly called as calcium. What are the chemical form commonly called as Ca2 plus. Calcium is a basic constituent is commonly called as cell membrane, as well as how it can be helped to be alert is commonly called as. It is essential composition of mitotic cell division. And mitotic spindle formation. Mitotic cell division and mitotic spindle formation. In addition, due to this presence of the calcium, it happened to commonly called as permeability of cell membrane. Then The next one commonly called as lipid metabolism. And also activation of enzymes such as adenyl kinase, ATPase, amylase, and the phosphorylase. Yes, next to be, what are the deficiency? If is not a proper availability of calcium means, what is first going commonly called as necrosis. Then premature fall of leaf and flowers. That means the leaves and flower without attaining maturity to fall on to be earlier. That's called premature fall of leaf and flowers. Then incubation of seed formation. That means seeds are formation, but the rate of formation it should be prevented. That's called incubation of seed formation. And black heart of celery. So what are called black? Due to loss of chlorophyll, the leaf they can be occur black patches. The patches are occur what shape is commonly called as heart shaped. That kinds of characteristic feature which plant to be appear means the plant is commonly called as celery. That's a commonly called as leafy vegetables. But the black heart of celery is generally occur in young leaves or young plants. And sixth one, hooked leaf, because the leaf tip is look like a hook-like structure. Where is occur that kinds of symptoms commonly called as musa. This is a commonly called as banana. Then sugar beet, that we commonly called as sakkaravalli kilangu. Then tomato. These are things deficiency of syndrome. Okay, but a calcium, which way the plant is uptake in the form as commonly called as calcium 2+. The next one, micro elements can be discussed about commonly called as magnesium. What is the chemical form is commonly called as Mg. So magnesium is an essential component of formations of chlorophyll molecule. So without magnesium, there is no responsible for formation of chlorophyll molecules. In addition, magnesium is the activator of enzyme in carbohydrate metabolism is commonly called as RUBB and PEP carboxylase. What is that RUBB? Ribulose 1,5 bisphosphate carboxylase, or also called RUBB carboxylase, who have to be going on activator is commonly called as magnesium. The next one will be PEP. That's a commonly called as phosphoenol pyruvic acid, or also called PEP carboxylase. In addition, what are the third one functions commonly called as magnesium? It is essential for formations of DNA and RNA. What is the DNA? Ribonucleic acid. Then like this, RNA is commonly called as ribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid and ribonucleic acid, which is responsible for help in formations commonly called as magnesium. Then fourth one is commonly called as binding of ribosomal subunits. You know that the ribosome exists two subunits, you know. These are 40S, these are 60S, which is responsible for binding that two subunits commonly called as magnesium. In plants, magnesium it can be uptake in the form of Mg2 plus. If that availability is going to be decreased is commonly called as deficiency of symptoms. Like this, chlorosis, necrosis, stunted growth, as well as slack drawn off tomato. That means these are commonly called as it is a characteristic features of chlorosis. Initially, it is appear in the young leaves. It must be accentuated to regarding what old leaves. These are commonly called as deficiency symptoms of magnesium. When about the last one element is commonly called as sulfur. What are the chemical symbol is commonly called as S. Sulfur is a basic constant of formations of amino acid. Such as cysteine and cysteine and methionine. It is the basic constituents of coenzyme A and vitamins. Which vitamins is responsible for formations commonly called as biotin and thiamine. In addition, it is the basic constituent of protein and ferritaxin. The plant which way to be uptake is commonly called as SO4 because sulfate, that is that basic units of fraud sulfur. Okay. If it is deficiency, what are the symptoms is generally available is commonly called as chlorosis, loss of chlorophyll, necrosis, death of tissue, stunted growth. The plants are attaining short growth. Apart from what are the primary things that may be appear is commonly called as the leaf roll is curved to back and reduce the nodulation in the legumes. You know that what is the nodulation? Formations of nodule. If nodule is formation mean the present rhizobium bacteria. If rhizobium bacteria which are present inner to root mean that are responsible for trap atmospheric nitrogen. Which plant is uptake more atmospheric nitrogen mean that plants its help more grow and increasing yield. What do you mean commonly called as NPK fertilizer? So N denoted nitrogen, P denoted phosphorus, K denoted potassium. So the NPK these are occur in different proportion, but if the NPK is packed on bag, if it is indicate 15, 15 and 15. That 15, 15, 15 is nothing but NPK, but all are occur in equal proportion. The last one we are going to discuss about chelating agents. What do you mean commonly called as chelating agents? Commonly called as binding agents. Based on the binding nature, they can be classified as two types, namely chemical chelating agent the second one biological chelating agents. Which chemical it can be used as a binding? That's a commonly called as EDTA. That's a commonly called as ethylene diamine triacetic acid. So what is the meaning of chemical chelating agent means? Most of the plant which can be grow on alkaline soil. If growing on the alkaline soil, they can be provide all nutrients along with the iron. But the plant, it must be show deficiency of iron. Providing iron, but expose the leaves and the stem deficiency of iron. How to rectify that iron deficiency mean? To make iron in a soluble complex. How the plant can store iron in the soluble complex means you have to be adding the chelating agents of EDTA. If we are adding EDTA, that's called ethylene diamine triacetic acid. If it is adding mean the plant is maintained regarding iron. So that is the commonly called as chemical chelating agents. The last one I am going to discuss about biological chelating agents. The biological chelating agent which want to be considered commonly called as tridospore. Tridospore that will be act as a biological chelating agents. Which is responsible producing regarding what a tridospore? Tridospore is produced by bacteria, or is commonly called as it is an iron carrier. The tridospore it is used chelating ferric ions. That means Fe3 plus, or which want to be going ferric ion where it can responsible derived from commonly called as environment as well as host. So these are things discussing today. Thank you.